I guess we could talk here about a little bit about Kachi Nzeh, who transferred into the basketball program over the weekend. Forward/center.
He's going to play center, from what I was told.
Yes.
I know people aren't happy seeing 6'8", 6'9" center, but that's the name of the game.
Played 19 games for Xavier last year as I believe a true freshman. 2.5 points, 2.5 rebounds per game. Made a decision after an official visit, I believe it was this week to Penn State. He was on a visit to Penn State this week. Was not the only one, so stay tuned at Ab Valley Insider for more on that. But yeah, Penn State lost a lot of big men this offseason. Qudus Wahab, Leo Boyle, both to eligibility. Ayer left and Demetrius Lilly left via the transfer portal as well.
Blessing in disguise for all those, I feel like.
So, Penn State on their roster had Zach Hicks and Puff Johnson remaining as the big men on the roster. So he's right now in line to step into quite a bit of playing time here in 2024, in the 2024-2025 season. Let me see if I can find it.
I was going to pop up his tape, but his tape on YouTube is like the blurriest thing I've ever seen. It looks like a VHS like player. But yeah, no, he's a very good get. I think he's actually really underrated. He's had some good games this past season. Now, right now, yes, he's your starter, but I think he's more going to play that backup role, whether that be a Demetrius Lilly type or something like that. But he does have some talent. I mean, Xavier is no pushover. The Big East is probably king when it comes to basketball right now, especially because UConn's just leading the way there. But yes, he will be playing center. He will not be playing power forward from what I can tell. He's really good at the rim. He's got a decent front-facing offensive game. All his stuff comes from the rim, I should say. It's almost 90% of his shots are coming from the rim.
Right.
But the really good, interesting thing about him is that he has a really good offensive rebounding numbers. Like, I know he didn't play a ton, but his offensive rebounding numbers in those limited minutes is very impressive. And his downside is he has brick hands. So he's like very turnover prone. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how he fits. But like I said, he's more than likely going to be the main backup at the big man spot, which is fine. If I can find a guy that can play those 30 minutes a game, maybe 28 minutes a game, and then have this guy come in and play 10 to 12, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. So this is definitely a good get for Penn State. And you need bodies at this point.
Yeah, Penn State lost a lot of minutes this offseason with all those losses. Now they do get Zach Hicks and Puff Johnson back, which is important. But there's going to be plenty of time for him on the court next season. Now perhaps they go out and get another big man, and that could change things a little bit. But right now there's a lot of a lot of minutes available for him to take hold of if he can take a step in his development. I mean, he didn't put up, like you said, he didn't put up sexy numbers at Xavier. He didn't flash a lot, but I still think a lot of potential there for him in his development. And we saw what some of these guys were able to do in their development under Mike Rhodes in year one and his coaching staff in year one. There's no reason to believe that there's other guys who can't take similar steps going forward. Now, by my calculations, this leaves 3 open scholarships, I believe, for
I just had that pulled up too.
For next year. I believe that is it Nzeh?
I was saying Neza, but I pronounced everything wrong. So 3 open scholarships. You're right.
3 open scholarships. But looking at it, I believe Baldwin, Kern, Dunn, Hicks, and Johnson are all entering their. I think 2 of them may have 2 years of eligibility left, but
no, they're all down to 1.
They're all gone.
All 5 are down to 1. Kachi Nzeh.and, I don't know how to pronounce it, will be entering his sophomore year, and then obviously the 4 freshmen.
So either.
Oh, Miles Goodman could start. I forgot all about that.
He could.
Yeah, that's very possible.
But a freshman starting in the Big Ten at center, that's going to be tough. Now he doesn't have to deal with the likes of, Zach Edey out there. So that's always
Or
helpful.
no Zach Edey, no Koifamori. Like
Right.
there's a lot of replacing going on in the Big Ten this offseason. So especially in the
But
front court. So
yes, but
it's
either way, uh, what I was getting to was no matter how the seniors broke down, uh, I would assume Penn State with these final three spots are going to target juniors and sophomores, which could be tough because people are going to pony up some more NIL money for guys who have multiple years of experience, especially if they're solid or better. But Penn State really needs to find some guys that are in that junior or sophomore because you're about to lose a big chunk of your roster next offseason.
Yeah, it's weird. Nowadays, it's just like a 1 year lineup and that's it. Like, I know we post a scholarship chart every time there's a commitment or a decommitment or a transfer or whatever, but it's just the way it works now. It's just a different roster every year with the portal and
True,
NIL. So,
true. But at the same time, I think, Rhodes has said in the past that he uh, isn't necessarily a coach who wants to live in the transfer portal year in year out.
I don't think you have a choice
You're
anymore.
going to address your needs in transfer portal, but I'm not sure he's going to want to be replacing every year 5, 6 guys out of on the roster out of the portal.
Yeah.
Especially in the age of college basketball, where we see in the Final Four. UConn. I know UConn lost a lot of guys last year, but
The top three players are transfers. Top
yeah,
three of four.
but they still got a lot of guys that I think carried over from last year's team. Purdue
Yeah.
obviously has a lot of guys,
Transfers.
but I
That's
think
just how it works. I feel
yeah,
like
I think
you're screwed.
there's a fine balance that they will have to find between transfer portal, but also
Mhm.
you got to find some sort of sustained culture and such for going forward because without it, you're gonna run into some problems like Penn State has ran into this year on and off the court.
The end of the day, you need NIL. You need NIL to retain guys. You need
Yes.
NIL to get new guys. So it's like they need NIL. That's it. They have targeted 5 different guards so far. They've targeted several forwards. They're targeting several centers. Kerry Booth is in the portal. Penn State legacy recruit. Actually, one-time Penn State verbal commit out of Notre Dame, but we're told Penn State is not pursuing him, although they have looked into other guys like Amari Williams, Sam Alexis out of Chattanooga, Terrace Reed out of Michigan, Lee Dort out of Vanderbilt. I keep an eye on those names for now. I don't think anything's really happening too much with those guys. The guard position, you're going to need another guard, I think. Especially because, technically Ace Baldwin never announced he's coming back yet, and there was rumors swirling a month ago that he was potentially leaving
Yeah.
from Troy Donovan. So, definitely keep an eye on some things. This is going to be interesting to see how this whole thing kind of plays out. We haven't heard too much more about Penn State, I don't think. Looking right now to see if there's any other tidbits, but it's relatively quiet on the transfer portal front. But yeah, like you said, he doesn't want to be that transfer portal guy right now. But I hate to say it, this is how it is. This is way of life in the portal world.
He obviously
maybe
has
not 5, but 3 at least every
year.
year.
I mean, he obviously has to do it. He has to address it this year. But I think if he can, I think in an ideal world, he'd like to avoid having to replace. If he has to go out and get two to 4 guys a year, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he wants to be turning over nearly half the roster every year if he doesn't have to. But that, like you said, that is recruiting now or college basketball in today's world. So it is what it is. But and that'll just be something we have to watch over the next couple of years, obviously.
Yeah, another name that popped up on the radar that I believe visited this weekend actually is Northern Illinois guard. No, I'm sorry, big man. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Yanic Konan Niederhauser. That sounds about right? That's close enough. Switzerland native, in the portal from Northern Illinois. Made a couple starts, appeared in 20 games. Again, nothing too crazy. Numbers wise, he only averaged 7 minutes a game. This is where it gets a little concerning. But in those 7 games, he led the Huskies in blocks 4 different times. So maybe not the worst in the world. Played in the German Pro League a couple years ago. So I mean, it's a name to keep an eye on. It sounds like he visited Monday. Sounds like he visited Monday or Tuesday. The transfer portal, this is the stupidest thing in the world. Not only is the transfer portal during the NCAA tournament, but there's a dead period starting tomorrow at noon. So it's like ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
the entire schedule for football and basketball has to be. I mean, because what are we going to do next year during the college football playoffs? Are we going to have the transfer portal going on? I mean, I think that's a dead period anyway.
I think they changed it a little bit. So now
it's a mess, especially with the transfer portal going up against March Madness. Obviously nobody who's still alive is going to enter the transfer portal, but it's still a mess. Because I mean, UConn, Purdue, North Carolina State, and Alabama are now behind the eight ball in addressing their roster needs for next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you heard Dan Hurley say it the other day. He's like, we're not recruiting anyone in the portal right now. We're focused on this. And I'm like, bullshit. Like, well, you have to be. Like, you have no choice.
Yeah, but also, he could also just say his recruitment pitch right now could just say, look at our track record the last 2 years.
That's true.
And that's probably as good as a recruitment pitch you need if you're Dan Hurley.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, it does look like Yanic visited on Monday. I don't know if they'll end up getting him, but if they're getting another backup center, it kind of tells me they're pretty confident in either Goodman or Kachi Nzeh starting, which I don't know. I'd be a little concerned personally. Kachi did have his moments, but again, bad hands, turnover prone. I don't like that from a center. That's my biggest concern there.
Yeah, it's really going to be intriguing to watch, and just I don't know if I've said it before on the podcast. I've said it on between us. It's hard right now for me to look at the Penn State roster heading next year, and the seniors are going to have to take a big step forward in their games, all of them, for this team to take that next step forward. But if they lose an Ace Baldwin or Nick Kern or Zach Hicks or Puff Johnson to injury, things get really tough really quickly for them. Yeah. And I shouldn't say I don't see a step forward. I see a step forward, but I don't know if I see necessarily a big step forward necessarily right now heading into next year. But we'll see.
Just have to wait and see. It sounds like Penn State's also involved with Iowa transfer Tony Perkins, which would be an interesting backcourt mate for Ace Baldwin.
Yeah, that would certainly be an interesting one. Now that you mention it.
Oh, never mind. He just cut his list to 6 schools. Okay, they weren't involved, but he literally like 10 minutes ago cut his list to 6 schools. Penn State is not among that list, but he was one of their starters for Iowa this past season. It's crazy how many people are entering this portal. This is just absolute like madness. I don't even know what else to say about it. It's bad timing. It's madness. The NIL money being thrown around is disgusting. I'm told right now for a good guard, not a great guard, a good guard, you need $200,000 to $300,000 for one guard. Yeah. For a big man, since supply and demand issues, you get a guy for at least $600K. And that's why people are asking us, like, hey, why did Kerry Booth enter the portal? Like, he was playing good minutes for Notre Dame. Because he wants a payday. Is his dad the GM of the Nuggets? Yeah, but he still wants a payday at the end of the day. Like, anyone wants a payday. They all want paydays. I'm told the first thing that these guys are asking Coach Rhodes is, how much money am I going to get? It's not even how many minutes am I going to play. It's how much money am I going to get now. Yeah. And that's just, the portal's insane. It's a shit show. Just put it like that.
I fully agree.
But, all right. Anything else? I think that's really it, right?
Yeah, I think that is it.
Okay. All right. For me and Dylan, that's another episode of the PSU 365 podcast. Signing off.